Welcome to Stories for Sleep, a place where stories of science, nature, and the human mind are told in a slow, gentle rhythm, soft enough to accompany you as you drift towards sleep. When night falls, our world seems to grow quiet. Yet in truth, just beneath the leaves within the thin air, and among the faint gaps of moonlight, another civilization continues to move the world of insects. Small, silent, and often overlooked, yet they are among the oldest architects of life on Earth. Today's video, titled "The Most Fascinating Facts About Insects to Help You Sleep," is not meant to make you memorize information, nor does it ask you to understand everything. Instead, it invites you into a wider perspective, where the human ego softens and the planet's breathing gradually comes into view, steady, enduring, and not in need of attention. Through the lens of Carl Jung, insects are not merely biological creatures, but profound symbols of the collective unconscious, of quiet labor of transformation, and of life continuing whether we are awake or asleep. If you are tired, if your mind is still in motion, let this story stay awake for you, and you simply listen and slowly rest. When night falls, and the familiar sounds of the day gradually fade away, the human mind is rarely truly quiet. Even as the body lies down, thoughts continue to move, small worries, old memories, unanswered questions. Many of us carry an unnamed feeling before sleep, tired yet alert, longing to relax, yet unsure where to begin. Carl Gustav Jung believed that the human psyche is not formed only by personal thoughts, but is deeply connected to older layers of the unconscious, where the memory of nature, of life itself, quietly endures. And sometimes to enter sleep, we do not need more advice nor more effort. We only need to be reminded that we are still a very small part of a vast world, one that continues to function steadily without requiring our control. In this video, we will gently step into some of the most fascinating truths about insects, not through fear or noisy curiosity, but through a slow, calming rhythm, one soft enough to allow your mind to rest. Insects, these small beings so often overlooked, are in fact the silent foundation of life on Earth. They existed long before humans, building, connecting, and sustaining the world through movements that are almost invisible. As you listen to their story, you may notice something quietly familiar. The world does not need you to stay awake in order to keep going. Beneath the soil, in the air, among the leaves, life continues in an orderly, patient way, without demanding attention. And in the same way, your mind can be allowed to soften without watching, without needing to understand everything. If you are seeking a safe space to let go before sleep, a story deep enough to draw you away from familiar thoughts, yet gentle enough not to awaken tension, then stay here with us. The next part will lead you deeper into that silent civilization, where the smallest things carry the most soothing rhythm for the human sleep. Part 1. Introduction: The Silent Civilization of Insects. From the perspective of Carl Gustav Jung, the world is not composed only of what is loud, prominent, and easily seen. The deepest layers of life, both in nature and within the human psyche, often operate in silence. And if there is any image that most clearly reflects the unconscious of life itself, it is insects. From the very first lines calling the world of insects, a silent civilization opens a distinctly Jungian movement, shifting the gaze away from the human ego at the center and stepping into a broader, older, and more humble level of existence. Insects appeared on Earth long before human consciousness, before forests as we know them, before the structures we call civilization. They require no chronicles, no monuments, no myths, yet they have quietly built the conditions that allow all other forms of life to exist. In Jung's psychology, there is an important idea: what is most foundational is often the most invisible. The collective unconscious is not loud, does not demand attention, yet it supports the entire structure of consciousness. Insects are much the same. They are not the protagonists in the story humans tell about the world, yet they form the underlying framework of that entire story. The quiet pollination of bees, the constant recycling performed by ants, beetles, flies, and the countless tiny movements within the soil, all of this forms the slow, steady heartbeat of the planet. By placing insects at the foundation of life, rather than as secondary creatures, the text invites the listener to step out of a deeply ingrained habit of perception, the belief that what is small is unimportant. Jung once wrote, "The unconscious is not just evil by nature, it is also the source of the highest good." The unconscious, like the world of insects, is both unfamiliar and often overlooked, yet it is the birthplace of order, creativity, and self-regulation. The image of insects existing from deep soil to open sky also carries powerful symbolic meaning. In Jungian symbolism, this reflects the lower upper axis instinct and spirit. Insects move freely along this axis. They live in darkness, decay, and places humans tend to avoid. Yet they are also present in light, in air currents, in the beating of delicate wings beneath the sky. They connect levels that human consciousness often separates. Listening to the story of insects before sleep gently invites the mind to do something very natural, to loosen its central role. There is no longer "I must understand, I must control," but simply the witnessing of a living system that functions without us. This is precisely the state Jung considered essential for healing, when consciousness steps back, allowing deeper, self-regulating forces to operate. The civilization of insects also offers a gentle reminder that life does not need to be fast, powerful, or visible to be valuable. Billions of tiny beings repeating seemingly monotonous actions have sustained Earth for hundreds of millions of years. This speaks directly to a very modern exhaustion, the feeling that one must always be special, productive, clearly meaningful. In the presence of the insect world, these pressures slowly dissolve like a long breath released into the night. And here, this introduction becomes a psychological lullaby. It does not provide stimulating information, but opens a space where the mind can lower its vigilance. When you realize that whether you sleep or stay awake, whether you worry or let go beneath the soil and in the air around you, an ancient civilization continues its work, steady, precise, unseen. A very primal sense of safety begins to emerge. According to Jung, the deepest peace does not come from controlling the world, but from belonging to an order larger than oneself. The insect world, in its silence and persistence, is a living expression of that order. And as you allow this image to drift gently through your mind, like distant fireflies or the soft vibration of wings in the dark, you unconsciously allow yourself to step out of the center and be supported. That is where sleep begins. Seen through a slower gaze, the world of insects is no longer a collection of small, irritating creatures, but a parallel civilization operating by laws older than human history. Before humans farmed, built cities, or told stories about themselves, insects were already quietly constructing a complete living order beneath the soil, in the air, among decaying trees. Without language, without maps, without personal memory, they still coordinate, divide, labor, adapt, and continue across hundreds of millions of years. From Carl Gustav Jung's perspective, the insect world can be felt as a living manifestation of the collective unconscious of life itself. They do not exist as isolated individuals, but as instinctual currents where behavior requires no thinking, no explanation, yet is astonishingly precise. Ants do not know why they build complex underground pathways. Bees do not understand geometry when creating perfect hexagonal combs. Termites do not study physics to regulate temperature within their cities. Everything unfolds as if it had been remembered for a very long time, at a level deeper than reason, what Jung called the realm of archetypal memory. In this world, silence is not emptiness, but a form of subtle activity. When you lie down at night, when lights go out and human sounds fade, the civilization of insects does not stop. Beneath every step, beneath the thin layer of soil that seems still, thousands of tiny movements continue. They recycle death into life, turn decaying leaves into nourishment, transform light into signals, chemistry into language. There is something deeply gentle in the way insects exist. They do not need attention to have meaning. They require no gaze, no recognition, no admiration. This touches a very deep layer of the modern human psyche, one exhausted by the need to appear, to prove, to be seen. The insect world does the opposite. It reminds us that the most enduring forms of life often unfold in silence. And perhaps this is why, when we allow ourselves to listen to the story of insects before sleep, the nervous system begins to soften. There is no need to control, no pressure to understand immediately, to remember everything. Only the sensation of being held within a larger order, where everything continues, whether you are awake or asleep. As Jung wrote, "In all chaos there is a cosmos, in all disorder a secret order." The world of insects is that order, quiet, unshowy, yet strong enough to support the entire planet and gentle enough to lull the human mind into sleep. Part 2. Scale and the power of the small. The world of insects exists on a scale that the human mind can hardly grasp. Not thousands, not millions, but countless trillions of individuals are present on this planet at any given moment. In every handful of soil you step on, in every decaying tree trunk, in every night breeze brushing past your window, small life is always at work. This presence is not loud or dramatic, but so continuous and persistent that it becomes the foundation upon which everything else exists. Here, the text does not rely on numbers to overwhelm, but on a slow rhythm to let the listener feel a gentle truth. Earth is not held up by large creatures, but by innumerable small bodies, each doing very small tasks, repeating them daily for hundreds of millions of years. This mirrors Jung's view of the collective unconscious, where impersonal, unnamed forces resonating together truly form the structure of life. The biomass of insects at many points in Earth's history has equaled or even exceeded the total biomass of all land-dwelling vertebrates combined. Yet they do not dominate in the human sense. They disperse, subdivide, repeat quietly. Ants do not build the world through heroic individuals. Bees do not sustain life through grand decisions. Everything emerges through coordination without identity. On a psychological level, this touches a deep wound in modern humans, the exhaustion of believing one must be big, strong, or remarkable to matter. Read at the right pace. This section becomes not merely biological knowledge, but a subtle lullaby for minds worn out by the pressure to be important. Insects occupy the gaps we overlook, and likewise, within the human psyche, small emotions, fleeting thoughts, quiet breaths are often dismissed until we realize they are what keep the system from collapsing. Jung emphasized that what is considered secondary is often the very key to psychological wholeness. The central message of this section, therefore, is not instructional, but deeply comforting. You do not need to be grand to have meaning. You do not need to be seen to have value. Like insects, much of what keeps your life functioning lies in small acts, a steady breath, a repeated habit, a kind gesture no one witnesses. As the listener relaxes into this understanding, the nervous system naturally slows, comparison softens. The effort to prove oneself is gently set aside. And in that moment, when the small is returned to its rightful place, the mind begins to enter a state ready for sleep. If humans could perceive Earth from far enough away, not with the eyes but with listening, the first thing sensed might not be cities, oceans, or forests. It would be a continuous, tiny, steady movement, almost invisible. The movement of insects. They are everywhere yet rarely hold our attention. An ant crossing near your foot, a fly brushing the air, a butterfly passing and disappearing. Each is too small to remember, But gathered together not individually but collectively, the insect world becomes a mass of living presence far beyond human intuition. Biologists have estimated that at various times in Earth's history, the total biomass of insects may have equaled or surpassed that of all terrestrial vertebrates combined, which means that while humans build houses, write books, and tell stories about their central role, most of the work sustaining life is carried out by beings without voices, without personal memory, and without visible legacy. Insects do not take over the world through individual strength or intelligence. They do so through numbers, repetition, and rhythm. A single ant may be weak, but a colony is not. A single bee may be fragile, but Earth's pollination system is astonishingly resilient. A single termite may be tiny, but millions together can build structures that last decades, self-regulating temperature, humidity, and airflow. Here the insect world teaches a lesson very different from what modern culture often celebrates. Not everything enduring needs to stand out, not all power needs to be seen, and not every civilization needs to be named. From Carl Jung's perspective, this reaches deep into human psychology. In the collective unconscious, humans often equate value with what is large, strong, and clearly defined. We fear the small because it suggests loss of control. We struggle to accept that what seems insignificant can shape the entire system. Yet insects exist as a quiet reminder. The world is not built by spectacular moments, but by anonymous repetitions. They are present in every handful of soil you step on without noticing, in every night breeze touching your window, in every piece of decaying wood, quietly nourishing the next generation of trees. Insects do not wait to be seen in order to exist. They do not need an audience to do their work. And because of this, they carry a quality deeply suited to human sleep. For when you lie down, when consciousness loosens its grip, when grand thoughts grow tired and fade, the mind opens to smaller movements, breaths, subtle sensations, images that do not need to be important. In that state, the insect world feels closer than ever, not as something frightening or irritating, but as a background rhythm of life, a shared breath you do not need to join, only allow to continue. And perhaps when you understand that Earth is not upheld by noise, but by the quiet persistence of countless small beings, you can allow yourself to become smaller, quieter, softer, less burdened by the need to be important. Because like insects, you do not need to do anything great right now. You only need to exist, and let the rhythm of the world continue to lull you into sleep. Part 3. Collective Intelligence and Complex Societies. From the perspective of Carl Gustav Jung, intelligence does not always appear as a clear individual consciousness with a central command, with an ego standing at the center making decisions. At a deeper level, intelligence often operates as a network where each small part knows only its own role, yet the whole forms an astonishing order. And when we look at insect societies, it is as though we are gazing into an ancient archetypal image of this very principle. Ants have no leader. There is no commanding queen in the way humans often imagine. Each ant responds only to very simple chemical signals: scent, direction, density. Yet from these tiny responses, an entire system emerges: transport routes, storage chambers, nurseries for larvae, defensive strategies. Jung might have called this a manifestation of the collective unconscious, where intelligence does not reside in the individual, but in shared behavioral patterns repeated over time. Each ant does not know the whole, yet the whole unmistakably exists. Bees communicate through dancer language without words. Rotations, angles, and rhythm carry information about the sun's direction, distance, and the quality of nectar. This is not merely biology, but living geometry, embodied symbolism. In Jungian psychology, symbols are the way the unconscious speaks to consciousness. The dance of bees is a collective symbol encoded in the body without thinking, without analysis. Termites build structures that even modern architecture studies, with admiration regulating temperature, circulating air, stabilizing humidity. There are no blueprints, no architects, only millions of small, precise, repeated actions. This reminds us that the deepest order does not arise from control, but from unconscious synchronization. When each element trusts, the shared rhythm structure forms by itself. The sacrifice of the individual within insect societies often unsettles, even frightens humans. Yet, at a symbolic level, this is not loss, but the dissolution of the ego into a greater whole. Jung wrote that psychological maturity is not only about affirming the ego, but also about learning to place it correctly within the totality of the psyche. As we listen to the story of insects, we are not only learning biology, we are being reminded that intelligence is not always loud. It can be silent, distributed, unowned, yet perfectly functional. And as you prepare to fall asleep, perhaps your own mind is doing something similar, releasing the ego's need for control, allowing deeper internal networks to regulate, organize, and heal quietly. In the insect world, intelligence rarely takes the familiar shape humans tend to assign to it. There are no standout individuals, no leaders issuing commands, no single control center. Instead, intelligence appears as a distributed flow, spreading through thousands or millions of small bodies, coordinating through simple yet astonishingly precise signals. Look at an ant colony. Each individual holds only a tiny fragment of information, scent trails on the ground, vibrations in the air, contact with another body. A single ant does not know the overall map, nor understand long-term strategy. Yet, when thousands respond together to the environment, a complex order emerges. The shortest paths form, food is allocated, the nest expands, danger is avoided. Intelligence is not located in any one mind, it exists between relationships. From Carl Gustav Jung's perspective, this closely mirrors the concept of the collective unconscious. No individual possesses the whole meaning, yet when the fragments coexist, a deeper order reveals itself. Insect society thus resembles a living dream. No one directs it, yet everything functions. Bees tell a similar story. When a scout bee discovers a flower source, it does not report through spoken language. Instead, it dances. The angle of the dance indicates direction relative to the sun. Duration indicates distance. Intensity conveys abundance. No charts, no maps, no abstract concepts, only bodily movement. And from that movement, the entire hive understands and acts as a single organism. Termites at another level build vast underground cities. No one draws the design. No architect oversees construction, yet the ventilation, temperature regulation, and humidity control are so refined that modern humans study them closely. The city is not designed, it grows layer by layer, micro-adjustment by micro-adjustment. The individual sacrifice seen in ants, bees, and termites, often viewed by humans as extreme, is in this context not loss, but role transformation. The individual does not vanish, it merges into a larger current. Jung wrote that the ego is not the center of the psyche, but a point floating upon the ocean of the unconscious. Insect societies seem to live fully within this principle. As we look more closely, we begin to see that intelligence does not need to be loud, fast, or driven by personal decisions. Intelligence can be slow, repetitive, silent, and still effective. It may exist not in thought but in rhythm, not in intention but in continuous adjustment. For someone preparing to sleep, this image carries a gentle whisper. You do not need to understand everything. You do not need to control everything. There are systems within you, like an ant colony, like a beehive, working quietly even as you loosen consciousness. And just as in insect societies, perhaps the deepest intelligence of the human being does not arise when we force ourselves to think, but when we allow ourselves to merge with a shared rhythm. the rhythm of breath, of darkness, of sleep drawing very near. Part 4. Senses Beyond the Human. From the perspective of Carl Gustav Jung, the world is not composed only of what human consciousness can name, but of countless layers of reality operating alongside us silently, deeply. When we look at insects, we are invited into one of these layers where perception does not follow human sensory logic, where reality is woven from light. Our eyes cannot see from scents. Our noses cannot detect from vibrations smaller than even a fleeting thought. Insects do not live less than humans. They simply live in a different world. A butterfly resting on a flower does not merely see the vivid colors we admire, but also ultraviolet patterns invisible to human eyes, secret signals flowers send specifically to it. For the butterfly, the petal is not just beauty, but a map, an invitation, a message essential to survival. It tastes the world with its feet, sensing life through the lightest touch, as though each step were a question posed to reality. Dragonflies with eyes that occupy nearly their entire head do not see the world in isolated frames. They live within a continuous flow of movement, able to predict the trajectory of prey before it even changes direction. The dragonfly's world is one where the future already shimmers within the present, a purely biological intuition, close to what Jung described as knowing without thinking. Mosquitoes, often despised by humans, are masters at reading signals we entirely miss: subtle warmth, microscopic changes in CO2 body scent, woven from biology and emotion. To a mosquito, a human is not an individual, but a moving energy field radiating signs of life. Bees sense Earth's magnetic field as an inner compass guiding them home after long flights. Dung beetles roll their small spheres across the ground, orienting themselves by the Milky Way, using the night sky as an ancient map. These facts gently reveal a profound truth: the world is always wider than how we perceive it. Reality does not end at the limits of human senses. According to Jung, the human mind is the same. Consciousness is only a small portion of the total psychological life. Most processes occur in the unconscious, where memory, emotion, instinct, and symbol coexist. When we look at insect senses, we are reminded that life always exceeds what we can control or fully understand. There are layers of perception constantly at work, whether we name them or not. And perhaps for this reason, when we listen to stories of insects before sleep, the mind is allowed to release the need to understand everything. We are invited to accept that many things function beautifully in silence, invisibility, and their own rhythm. Like sleep, it does not need analysis, only permission. When we close our eyes, the world does not disappear. It simply shifts into another mode of perception, deeper, slower, gentler. If humans perceive the world through 5 familiar senses, insects inhabit an entirely different universe, one most of us never directly touch. They do not merely see, hear, or smell differently. They seem to perceive reality through invisible dimensions, where light is more than color, sound more than frequency, and movement more than a change in position. A butterfly landing on a leaf does not simply stand there. It tastes the leaf with thread-like feet, reading a chemical map of life, asking whether this leaf is safe for its eggs, whether generations before have left their trace here. A butterfly's wings are not merely for flight. They are maps of light, reflecting ultraviolet rays, a spectrum the human eye will never see yet. For butterflies, it is the language of recognition, attraction, survival. Dragonflies live within a different sense of time. Their compound eyes capture nearly panoramic motion, not to admire it, but to anticipate the future where prey will be before it arrives. In the dragonfly's world, the present always lags slightly behind intuition, and perhaps, as Jung would suggest, this is an expression of an ancient instinctual intelligence, where the unconscious moves ahead of consciousness, where action precedes thought. Mosquitoes, small beings so often disliked, are masters of reading signals humans entirely overlook. They are drawn not only to scent, but to warmth, breath, CO2, concentration, and minute fluctuations in the magnetic field surrounding living bodies. Mosquitoes do not search for humans. They sense a living field, an energetic region that emits heat, breathes, and occupies space. Bees inhabit a world where Earth is not inert. They feel the planet's magnetic field, navigate not only by the sun, but by invisible networks connecting Earth, sky, and space. Dung beetles roll their small spheres through the night without losing their way. They use the Milky Way as a guide, a simple act, yet one that reminds us that even the smallest beings are directly connected to the vast universe. The insect world, therefore, is not a simpler version of the human world. It is a parallel layer of reality woven from vibration, chemistry, invisible light, and ancient rhythm. Carl Jung once said, "The unconscious is not just evil by nature, it is also the source of the highest good." If the human unconscious is a deep ocean, then insect senses are like beings fully at home, within it, needing no conscious light, no explanation, no naming. They know without understanding. They feel without interpretation. And perhaps this is why the insect world feels strange yet peaceful. Because when there is no need to analyze, no need to control, no need to label right or wrong, life simply unfolds. As you listen to these stories before sleep, the human brain begins to do the same. It slowly releases the urge to name, softens the boundary between sensation and thought, and slips gently into an older state where the world is felt before it is understood. And in that moment, you are no longer observing insects from the outside. You are touching the same layer of awareness where life operates quietly, precisely, and without explanation. Part 5. The Art of Survival and Extreme Adaptation. If there is one thing the insect world has been quietly teaching humanity for hundreds of millions of years, it is this: life does not endure by resisting circumstances, but by bending, with subtle intelligence in response to whatever conditions arise. To our eyes, many insects appear fragile, small, even easily harmed. Yet when we observe long enough, slowly enough, a deep paradox reveals itself. Those that seem most vulnerable are often the true masters of adaptation, not through strength, but through an almost limitless biological imagination. Some beetles can withstand pressure many times their own body weight, surviving beneath rocks in sand, or even after being stepped on, continuing to move as if nothing had happened. Others live near volcanic vents, where heat and toxic gases make survival impossible for most organisms. They do not challenge the environment, they restructure themselves to fit it. Cockroaches, insects, often disliked by humans, are among the clearest demonstrations of survival without spectacle. They can live for extended periods without a head tolerate radiation levels lethal to humans, and even learn from experience, remembering paths, dangers, and adjusting behavior to context. Their resilience does not come from strength, but from energy conservation, slow adaptation, and acceptance of imperfection. Some insects move even closer to the boundary between life and death. Certain species freeze completely during winter, halting all biological activity, then awaken when temperatures rise. In that moment, the line between living and non-living becomes blurred. Life is no longer a continuous state, but a capacity that can pause and resume like nature, taking a very deep breath. Many caterpillars, beetles, and butterflies have turned camouflage into a refined survival art. They do not fight, they do not flee, they disappear into their surroundings. A caterpillar resembles a dry twig. A butterfly bears the eye pattern of a larger predator. Another insect blends into the shape of a half-eaten leaf. This is not deception, but the dissolution of the ego into context, a profound lesson nature repeats endlessly. At the opposite extreme, Some wasps and beetles can spray boiling chemicals for defense. Certain ants even self-destruct when threatened, sacrificing the individual to protect the colony. These acts are not heroic in the human sense, but the result of an evolutionary system where value lies not in the individual, but in the continuity of the whole. From the perspective of Carl Gustav Jung, these survival strategies are not merely biological phenomena, but archetypal images of the collective unconscious. They mirror the ways humans face adversity, sometimes fighting, sometimes hiding, sometimes waiting, sometimes letting go of the self, so that something larger may continue. In the deep unconscious, we recognize ourselves in these small creatures, not because we share their form, but because we share an ancient logic of existence. As we listen to these survival stories in the slow rhythm of night, the human nervous system begins to understand survival does not always require tension. Sometimes gentle, flexible, and quiet adaptation is the most sustainable path. And as you lie down, close your eyes and let your body soften. Perhaps a very ancient part of you, the part that once learned to survive ice, darkness, and change, recognizes that you do not need to be strong right now. You only need to allow yourself to bend with the rhythm of night, just as insects have done for hundreds of millions of years. Seen through a slow, psychologically deep lens, the art of insect survival does not appear as a series of dramatic feats, but as a long melody of adaptation, where each note is a gentle way of living within seemingly impossible conditions. Observed long enough, the insect world reveals a tender truth. Life does not win through confrontation, but through flexibility. Insects do not aspire to dominate their environment. They do not seek control nor dream of immortality. Instead, they learn to remain within harsh conditions, turning limitation into advantage. A beetle withstands immense pressure not because it is strong, but because its structure disperses force. A cockroach survives without a head not because it is immortal, but because its nervous system is decentralized. Life here does not depend on a single critical point. It is distributed, flexible, and difficult to extinguish. Many insects live in environments humans call uninhabitable volcanoes, permafrost, arid deserts, even briefly inside the digestive systems of predators. Yet rather than resisting, they adjust biological rhythms, metabolism, and body structure. Some freeze completely during winter, showing almost no signs of life, then awaken when conditions improve. Others play dead, not to deceive through power, but through patience. Their lives are not driven by ego, but guided by environmental rhythm. In Jungian language, this reflects a deep instinct of adaptation, where the unconscious does not seek to control circumstances but to live with them. Jung wrote, "Life doesn't demand perfection but wholeness." Insects are whole, not because they are invincible, but because they accept every state of existence, from intense activity to complete stillness. They are not afraid to pause. They do not see rest as failure. Camouflage in caterpillars, beetles, and butterflies, mimicking dry leaves, flowers, twigs, even snakes or ants, is not deception in a negative sense. It is the art of dissolving the ego into context. When they cannot stand out, they disappear. When they cannot escape, they choose invisibility. This echoes Jung's concept of the shadow parts of the self that need not be displayed yet, still protect life quietly. Even extreme defense mechanisms, boiling chemical sprays, powerful venom ants that explode to defend the colony, are not meaningless aggression. They are last resort strategies activated when no other options remain, not to dominate, but to maintain continuity. The individual vanishes so the flow of life may continue. Again, we see intelligence belonging not to the ego but to the whole. As these stories unfold at night, when the mind is tired of being strong or in control, the insect world whispers another message. You do not need to be rigid to survive. You may be soft, you may be slow, you may pause. Life continues. And in this realization, the listener's nervous system can begin to relax. There is no need to brace against tomorrow. No need to prove anything. Like insects, you may bend with the night, with breath, with the body's natural fatigue. The art of survival sometimes is simply allowing yourself to rest. Part 6. Reproductive strategies and a different experience of time. Humans measure time by clocks, calendars, and personal age. But for insects, time does not belong to me. It belongs to flow. A cicada may lie beneath the soil for 17 years in darkness, almost absent from the surface world. To humans, this seems unimaginable waiting. But to the cicada, it is simply a long breath of the earth. It does not hurry, does not worry about wasting youth. It sleeps, grows, and rises only when the entire ecosystem is ready. Time here is not an enemy, but an ally. Many other insects also live within a time frame that surpasses the individual. The migrations of butterflies, bees, and ants do not belong to a single lifetime. One generation begins, the journey the next continues, and another completes it. No individual sees the whole story, yet the story remains complete. This closely reflects Jung's idea of the collective unconscious journeys, larger than the ego, where each individual is only a small link in a long chain of meaning. Conversely, some insects live extremely short lives, hours, even minutes. Yet this brevity is not deficiency, it is strategy. In those few hours, they reproduce, pass on genetic information, and vanish while the species persists for hundreds of millions of years. Once again, time does not reside in the individual but in continuity. Life does not require each being to live long, only that the flow remains unbroken. Asexual reproduction in flies and aphids, or the absolute sacrifice of male bees, ants, and termites, makes one thing clear in the insect world: the ego is not central. Life does not revolve around preserving the individual, but maintaining the shared rhythm. From a Jungian view, this is an archetypal image of the ego dissolving into a larger order, something the human mind usually touches only in deep dreams or meditative states. And so this section carries a naturally lulling energy. It whispers to the listener, you do not need to hurry. You do not need to complete everything in one lifetime. Some processes are designed to unfold across many cycles, generations, layers of consciousness. When you lie down to sleep, you are not leaving the flow of life. You are simply handing over the shift, as insects do, to the next generation. In that slow breath, time ceases to be pressure. It becomes a soft space in which you are allowed to rest. And like the insect world, life continues to operate with remarkable precision even while you sleep. If humans measure time with clocks, calendars, and lifespan, insects inhabit an entirely different frame where time is not linear but cyclical, rhythmic, and continuous without requiring full witnessing. A life may last only an afternoon, yet its meaning extends across millions of years of evolution. Cicadas are among the clearest symbols of how insects negotiate time. They sleep beneath the ground for 13, 17, even more than 20 years, not from slowness, but from precision. Their existence is aligned with tree cycles, climate predators, and survival windows. When the moment arrives, they emerge together, live intensely for a few short weeks, mate, lay eggs, and disappear. Death here is not an ending, but a gentle punctuation in a story written across generations. Many butterflies, bees, and ants do not complete journeys within one life. The migration of monarch butterflies, for example, is remembered not by an individual brain, but by genetic and behavioral inheritance. Each butterfly travels only a segment of a 1,000-mile path. No one knows the entire journey, yet the species does. This is intelligence beyond the ego, very close to Jung's concept of the collective unconscious knowledge that belongs to no one yet still guides. In flies, aphids, and asexually reproducing insects, time becomes even more flexible. In favorable conditions, they multiply rapidly, bypassing the waste of mating. In harsh environments, they return to sexual reproduction to restore genetic diversity. Time is not obeyed, it is adjusted. Most striking are reproductive strategies, where death is accepted as part of flow. Male bees die after mating. Worker, ants and termites labor to exhaustion without ever reproducing. Here, the personal ego nearly dissolves completely, making space for collective continuity. There is no tragedy, no resistance, only smooth system function. From a human viewpoint, these strategies can feel overwhelming, even unsettling. But within nature's rhythm, they carry a quiet beauty. No anxiety about wasting one's life. No obsession with leaving a personal mark. Insect time bears no burden of meaning, and thus it feels light. Jung believed much modern human anxiety arises from the ego's separation from deeper natural rhythms. By observing insects, we touch another mode of existence, where life does not need to be proven, remembered, or extended by will. It simply continues. And perhaps as you listen before sleep, your body is quietly relearning this lesson. You do not need to finish everything today. You do not need to live fully every moment. Some processes continue, even when you let go. Close your eyes and allow time to move in its own way. In the insect world, time does not pressure. It simply flows slowly, precisely, and with deep reliability. Part 7. Architecture, Engineering, and Human Inspiration. When observing the insect world closely, humans gradually realize that we are not the first species to build, design, or solve problems. Long before blueprints, calculations, or skyscrapers existed, the Earth was already covered with living structures, silent, precise, and enduring, created by insects. Termite mounds rising from deserts or hidden deep underground are not random piles of soil. They are sophisticated microclimate regulation systems, maintaining stable temperature and humidity, no matter how harsh the external environment becomes. Light airflow tunnel structures, everything is arranged as if guided by an invisible architect, even though no single termite knows the entire plan. Intelligence here does not reside in an individual mind, but in coordination. Leafcutter ants do more than gather food. They cultivate. They farm fungi, control pests, preserve strains, a complete agricultural system that existed tens of millions of years before humans planted their first seeds. The ant's jaw becomes a tool as precise as a surgical blade, capable of cutting, carrying, and dividing labor without command. Dragonflies, flies, beetles, these small creatures have opened new directions for human technology. The way dragonflies fly has inspired more stable drones. Butterfly wing structures suggest color-changing materials without dyes. Compound insect eyes inspire panoramic cameras and vision systems without a single central point. In Jung's view, this is not merely about engineering. These insect constructions touch a deep archetype within the human unconscious, the figure of the craftsman, the builder, the keeper of order. They represent a psychological function that does not seek fame, does not demand recognition, but simply continues working so the system may endure. Modern humans living in loud and pressured cities sometimes forget that we once learned more from nature than we tried to dominate it. Returning to observe insects, these silent engineers offers not only technological solutions, but also a profound psychological lesson that intelligence does not need to be loud, that sustainability often emerges from slow rhythm, and that the strongest structures are often built in silence. As you listen to this before sleep, allow images of tunnels, ant nests, and delicate yet precise wings to drift gently through your mind. No need to remember, no need to analyze. Simply know that right now, somewhere beneath your feet in soil, leaves, and air, a living architecture continues to operate rhythmically without demanding anyone's attention. And within that thought, the human mind can begin to slow, because not everything needs your control. If one stands long enough before a termite mound or bends close enough to an ant carrying a leaf, the first thing that appears is not instinct but order. An order requiring no blueprint, no commander, no overseer issuing commands. Each small movement, each micro-choice seems to know where it belongs, within a greater whole. Here, insects do not merely survive, they design. Giant termite cities taller than a human being are not random heaps of earth. They are living climate systems, tunnels, chambers, and vents, arranged so hot air escapes, cool air is drawn in, and light is diffused just enough to preserve structural integrity. Termites do not understand physics as humans do. They live within physics, as if the colony itself were a living equation solving itself. Leafcutter ants with jaws as sharp as surgical instruments cut leaves not to eat, but to feed fungi. Agriculture existed here tens of millions of years before humans learned to sow. There is no concept of ownership, no personal storage, only a cycle: cutting, carrying, planting, tending, harvesting, and nourishing the community again. Technology here does not aim to conquer nature, but to harmonize with it. Dragonflies, flies, beetles, once dismissed as insignificant, now inspire flying robots. Ultra-light materials, self-stabilizing wings, multi-directional vision and reflex systems, faster than conscious thought. What is striking is this: humans did not invent these solutions. We simply recognized that nature had been doing this for a very long time. From a Jungian perspective, these structures are not merely biological or technical. They touch a very ancient archetype: the worker, the builder, the silent keeper of order. A form of intelligence that does not seek attention, visibility, or credit. It exists so the system may continue, and once its role is fulfilled, it quietly dissolves into the background. Perhaps this is why watching insects work often calms the human mind. There is no drama, no climax, only the steady rhythm of each element performing its proper role. A gentle reminder that not everything of value must stand out. And as you prepare to sleep, images of termite cities breathing with the earth, ant colonies operating wordlessly, dragonfly wings balancing themselves in air, may allow your mind to release the role of controller. For deep down, the mind itself is an ecosystem functioning best when not forced, when each part is trusted to do its work in silence. Part 8. Beauty, Light, and the Whispering Language. If there is one thing that invites humans to look at insects, not with fear, but with quiet wonder, it is beauty. Not loud or showy beauty, but the kind that reveals itself only when we slow down long enough. The light of a firefly does not illuminate the sky, yet it is enough to soften the darkness. A small point of light appearing and fading like the breath of night, reminding us that even in deep darkness, silent communication is taking place. That light wastes no energy. Fireflies achieve nearly 100% efficiency in bioluminescence, producing no excess heat, causing no harm to themselves. In nature, this is almost perfection. Yet what is more remarkable is this: the light is not meant to illuminate space, but to be seen by another being. Insects' light always has a receiver. It is language, not decoration. Butterfly wings are the same. Their colors do not come from ordinary pigments, but from microscopic structures that reflect light in precise ways. This means the blues, purples, and metallic hues are not painted on the wings, but emerge from how light interacts with form. Beauty here is not a surface layer, but the direct expression of inner structure. This image closely aligns with Carl Jung's thought: what we perceive is always the manifestation of a deeper order beneath conscious surface. The sounds of crickets, grasshoppers, and cicadas are not noise, they are rhythm. Each species has its own frequency, tempo, and music. As night falls, these sounds layer together, not chaotically, but like a natural choir. Humans call this night sound, But for insects, it is dialogue calling, mates marking territory, or simply affirming presence. I am here. In this world, vibration matters as much as light. Many species communicate through vibrations, transmitted via leaves, tree trunks, or ground too subtle for human ears, yet clear to insect nervous systems. This recalls how human emotions travel not always through words, but through breath, gaze, and presence. Jung emphasized that most communication of the psyche occurs beyond language, and the insect world is a living demonstration of this truth. When we look deeper, insect beauty lies not in the individual, but in harmony. No firefly tries to shine brighter than another. No cicada seeks to overpower the forest. Each creature emits only what matches its nature at the right time. Beauty arises from appropriateness, not competition. This is a gentle lesson for minds tired from comparison and striving. In the darkness of night, as you prepare for sleep, the insect world continues, speaking through light, sound, scent, and vibration. No audience needed. No recognition required. Only presence. And perhaps as you listen, your mind is relearning an old language. The language of whispers, natural rhythm, and beauty that needs no explanation. Beneath the dry surface of science, the insect world appears as a silent symphony of light, color, and rhythm. An art not meant for human eyes, yet touching deep layers of perception. When we watch a firefly glow in the dark, we witness not only a near-perfect biological process, but an ancient signal of presence. I am here. The light does not perform, does not linger, does not claim the sky. It simply connects, synchronizes life, and marks a brief moment within the long timeline of night. Butterfly wings with colors, seemingly imagined rather than made, do not carry color in the usual sense. They display structural color, light, shaped by microscopic layers. Color here is not decoration, but language, warning, attraction, disguise, survival. Jung wrote that archetypal images do not require words to convey meaning. They act directly upon the unconscious. Butterfly wings, in this sense, are living symbols, silent, yet deeply felt. The music of insects is the same. The sounds of crickets and cicadas are not random noise, but structured rhythms tied to season, temperature, and environment. On quiet summer nights, their steady calls naturally slow the human brain, deepen breathing, and soften awareness. Not because we understand the sound, but because our nervous system recognizes a safe, ancient rhythm that has accompanied humanity for tens of thousands of years. Beyond light and sound, insects communicate through nearly invisible signals, vibrations through leaves and soil scents, lasting only seconds, subtle changes in air. This is a world where information need not be large to matter. Everything is just enough. Nothing excessive, nothing rushed. This just enough quality forms a beauty unlike human aesthetics. Beauty that does not ask to be admired, only felt. At a deeper level, insect beauty touches something profoundly Jungian: connection with the unconscious through simple, repetitive, rhythmic forms. Firefly flashes, cicada drones, rising and fading. Butterfly colors shifting with angle. None seek to hold attention. They allow attention to dissolve. And in that state, the human mind no longer needs to analyze or control. It simply flows. Perhaps that is why, when we think of insects in the context of sleep, the feeling is no longer fear or irritation, but a background presence like distant rain or wind through leaves. Insects do not tell stories with words. They whisper through nature's structure. And when we allow ourselves to listen not with ears, but with the entire nervous system, that beauty becomes a very ancient lullaby, slowly guiding awareness away from the noisy surface of day into deeper layers where life continues without needing to be named. Part 9. The balance between creation and destruction. The world of insects, when seen beyond its fragile outer shell, reveals a gentle yet firm truth. every sustainable system is maintained by balance, not by idealization. There are moments that cause humans to recoil when confronting the darker side of insects: parasitic wasps laying eggs inside living hosts, flies and beetles employing strategies that make us shudder, mosquitoes so small they seem harmless yet responsible for more human deaths than any other creature in history. And somewhere in the forests, wars between ant colonies unfold, without mercy, complete with strategy, sacrifice, and very real consequences. But if we stop at fear, we miss the fuller picture nature is drawing. In the deep rhythm of ecology, destruction is not the opposite of creation, but another expression of the same flow. Parasites regulate populations, preventing unchecked expansion. Disease carriers force ecosystems and humans to develop adaptability. Conflicts between ant colonies define territories and maintain resource order. Nature is not moral in the human sense, but it is fair in the sense of balance. From Carl Jung's perspective, this becomes a metaphor for inner life. Just as ecosystems require both light and shadow, the human psyche must acknowledge the shadow, the rejected, feared, aggressive, jealous parts, not to glorify them but to reconcile with them. When darkness is denied, it finds other ways to emerge. When it is recognized, it becomes energy that can be transformed. The insect world teaches this lesson in a wordless language. In the quiet of night, as thin wings blend into the wind, we can allow ourselves to release judgment, to recognize that life operates through forces we did not choose, but can learn to understand. And this understanding, unhurried, non-extreme, opens a deeper sense of safety. For when balance is respected, the system continues to breathe. When darkness is given its rightful place, light no longer needs to strain to exist. If we stay long enough with the insect world, observing not only with our eyes but with a deeper listening, we begin to realize a paradox: life does not persist through pure beauty, but through the balance between creation, destruction. Insects do not hide their dark side. They reveal it honestly, without justification, without embellishment. In nature, there are parasitic wasps that lay eggs inside other beings, allowing larvae to consume the host from within. There are flies that use dead bodies as breeding grounds. There are ant armies that wage prolonged wars, eradicating entire colonies to claim resources. And there are mosquitoes, the smallest of creatures, yet responsible for more human deaths than any predator in history. Seen through human morality, these images provoke disgust. But viewed through a deeper lens, like the one Carl Gustav Jung proposed, when facing the inner shadow, we see not evil, but function. In the insect world, there is no concept of cruelty or compassion. There is only system operation. Every act, however harsh, keeps the whole from collapse. Parasitic wasps control insect populations. Flies and dung beetles clear the dead, returning matter to the soil. Ant wars maintain ecological boundaries, like rivers preventing floods from spreading. At a deeper level, insects teach what Jung called the integration of the shadow. A healthy system is not one without darkness, but one that allows darkness to exist in its proper role. Humans grow weary, trying to eliminate everything uncomfortable. Negative emotions, aggressive instincts, fear, selfishness. But nature does not function this way. In the insect world, there is no striving to become better. There is only the effort to maintain balance. And this understanding creates a strange, yet profound sense of calm. Because when we see that even destruction has its place, we fear our own imperfect parts less. Like insects, we too carry the capacity to nurture and to break. What matters is not denying either side, but allowing each to exist within natural limits. As night falls and the human world quiets, these cycles continue. Beneath the ground, ants still move. In the air, mosquitoes still seek warmth. On leaves, beetles still feed. There is no judgment, no tension, only the steady operation of an ecosystem that has learned self-regulation over hundreds of millions of years. At this moment, as you listen to these words, your body may be doing the same. Your heart beats more slowly. Your breath lengthens. Your brain lowers its vigilance. Heavy thoughts do not need to be eliminated. They only need to be placed in the right position, like darkness in nature. And perhaps this is the gentlest message the insect world whispers to us before sleep. You do not need to be pure in order to rest. You only need to be balanced. If you wish, in the next part, we will continue listening to how this silent life not only destroys and renews, but also lulls the planet with a rhythm that never stops. Part 10. Conclusion. The lullaby of silent life. As night falls and humans withdraw from the rhythm of the day, another world continues to move quietly, without lights, without needing to be witnessed. This is the world of insects. Enclosing leaves beneath cooling soil within air, slowly losing warmth. Small lives continue their work, not to be seen, not to be acknowledged, simply to sustain the Earth's breath. If daytime belongs to consciousness, where humans measure, calculate, name and control, then night is the domain of the unconscious. Carl Jung believed that when consciousness settles, older systems rise, and insects, in a way, are part of the planet's unconscious. They existed before human memory. They need no stories, no symbols, no explanations. They only need to continue. As you close your eyes somewhere, ants still follow invisible trails. Bees rest within perfect geometric structures no one had to design. Crickets produce steady rhythms, not to perform, but to keep the night from absolute silence. Fireflies glow no waste, no excess, like quiet punctuation marks in nature's endless text. Insects do not sleep as humans do, but they enter slower, deeper, more economical states. Metabolism lowers. Movement simplifies. Everything returns to the minimum required to persist. And in this reduction lies a deep intelligence, the wisdom of knowing when to stop, when to continue, and when simply to be present. Jung said healing does not come from doing more, but from restoring balance between opposing forces in the psyche. Insects have practiced this for hundreds of millions of years, between life and death, creation and destruction, light and shadow. They do not take sides. They keep the system running. When humans sleep, the nervous system releases control. Consciousness retreats. And in that space, the body entrusts itself to older mechanisms. Heartbeat, breath hormones, deep memory. This is not so different from how the insect world operates. No thinking, no doubting, only trust in structures tested by time. Perhaps that is why listening to insects at night soothes the human mind, not because of information, but because of remembrance. Life does not depend on you being awake. Everything continues, even as you rest. Under trees, termites continue repairing their cities. In the soil, larvae develop slowly without urgency. In the sky, tiny beings navigate by magnetic fields and moonlight without maps. There is no emergency, no panic, only rhythm. And that rhythm, steady, slow, enduring, becomes the oldest lullaby the earth has ever known. A wordless lullaby, one that does not need a listener. But when humans grow quiet enough to feel it, it becomes a deep reassurance. You do not need to do anything more. You do not need to understand everything. You only need to rest. Insects do not need to be loved to exist. They do not need admiration to fulfill their role. They remind us that value lies not in being seen, but in sustaining life through small movements, silent cycles. And as you lie there in the dark room, you may realize your sleep is not emptiness. It is the part you hand over to intelligences deeper than consciousness. Just as the earth hands itself to insects each night. The lights go out, but life does not stop. It simply shifts into another rhythm, slower, deeper, more enduring. And within that rhythm you are allowed to let go. As night falls and humans close a long day by closing their eyes, the world does not stop moving. On the contrary, in deeper layers of life where light is no longer required, ancient rhythms continue to flow. Beneath decaying leaves within moist soil, inside tiny pockets of air, we rarely notice insects still live, move, build, and repair what daytime has disturbed. Life does not need an audience to exist. It does not need recognition to continue. Carl Jung said that most of human psychological life unfolds in the unconscious, a space not illuminated by awareness, yet shaping much of what we are. The insect world is similar. It is like the unconscious of this planet. Quiet, unnoticed, yet without it everything collapses. As you lie down, your breathing, slowing your body, releasing the tasks of the day. Somewhere unnamed ant colonies continue their work. A bee may be sleeping in its hive, hanging by its jaws like a small, compact dream of nature. A firefly may be turning off its light because its light is not needed tonight. A beetle quietly breaks down what has died so that another life may begin. There is no hurry in that world, no goal to reach before dawn. Only continuation. And that continuation creates a deep sense of safety, the very thing the human body needs before sleep. At an instinctive level, our nervous system seeks reassurance that the world will remain intact when we release control. Insects, through their silent persistence, provide one of those signals. You do not need to stay awake to guard life. Life learned how to run itself a long time ago. The sound of crickets, if present, is not meant to wake you but to serve as background, like the heartbeat you only notice when it falters. Firefly light, if you have ever seen it, is not meant to illuminate the path, but to remind that light can be very small and still be enough. In Jungian psychology, sleep is not merely rest but the moment when consciousness yields so deeper layers can reorganize. Likewise, when humans sleep, the role of observer is returned to nature, and insects, small ancient beings, continue keeping the rhythm of a symphony we only hear when we are quiet enough. The world does not ask you to understand everything. It only asks that you allow yourself to rest. And so at this ending there is no need for new knowledge. No need to remember names, numbers, or mechanisms. Let everything settle like soil after rain. What mattered has already entered your body naturally through images, rhythms, and a vague yet real sense of safety. Insects are still there. The world is still breathing. Life continues its work in silence. And you may rest. Sleep well. Let tonight be supported by small, persistent movements that do not need to be seen. Part 11. Insects and the Collective Unconscious. For Carl Gustav Jung, the world does not exist only on the surface level of things, but extends deep into invisible layers of meaning, where symbols, images, and primordial memories continue to live within the human mind across thousands of generations. When insects are viewed through this lens, we begin to realize that they have never been merely small creatures crawling beneath our feet or flying past the glow of night lights. They have long inhabited and continue to inhabit the collective unconscious of humanity as quiet yet enduring archetypal images appearing in myths, dreams, folktales, and the deepest symbolic layers of the soul. Long before humans possessed scientific language, insects were already part of symbolic language. Butterflies, with their life cycle of caterpillar chrysalis winged form, emerged as images of rebirth and transformation. In many cultures, butterflies are seen as souls, as lightness after suffering, as whispers that no state is permanent. Jung once wrote, "The butterfly is a symbol of transformation and rebirth, not merely an external change, but a profound shedding of the ego." When a butterfly appears in a dream, it rarely speaks about insects. It speaks of a part of the person that is ready to step into a new form. Ants, by contrast, carry a different energy. In the collective unconscious, ants represent order, labor, discipline, and the sacrifice of individuality for a greater structure. Ant colonies have no heroes, no central individual, yet they create systems of astonishing efficiency. This image resonates deeply within the human psyche, especially in societies that emphasize community. Jung believed such symbols reflect the relationship between the individual ego and the whole man is not only an individual being, but also a social being. When ants appear in dreams, they may signal responsibility, pressure to dissolve into the collective, or the need to rediscover one's place within a larger structure. Spiders touch an even deeper, darker layer. In many mythologies, the spider is the weaver of webs, a symbol of fate, of invisible threads binding humans to life. The web is delicate, yet frightening, much like the unconscious itself, beautiful, complex, and capable of trapping us. Jung described the unconscious as an intricate network of memories, instincts, and symbols, and the spider becomes a perfect image of this structure. It is no coincidence that many people dream of spiders during periods of feeling controlled, entangled, or caught in relationships that are difficult to unravel. What is remarkable is that these symbols are not created by individuals, they are inherited. They live in folktales, cave paintings, myths, and rituals, then quietly flow into the dreams of modern people. This is precisely what Jung called the collective unconscious, the repository of humanity's shared psychological experience. Insects, with their overwhelming presence in number and their vast evolutionary history, have left deep imprints in this unconscious layer. They become a shared language through which the mind speaks about transformation, order, fear, connection, and survival. When we listen to the world of insects in the quiet before sleep, we are not merely learning biology or nature. We are touching ancient images that the mind still uses to tell the story of itself. The small movements outside reflect the subtle movements within. And perhaps that is why insects so often appear in moments between waking and dreaming, where the boundary between consciousness and the unconscious grows thinnest. In the slow breathing of night, as light softens and sounds fade, these symbols do not need to be analyzed or explained. They only need to be felt. As Jung said, the dream shows the inner truth and reality of the patient as it really is. And sometimes that truth takes the shape of a butterfly, a line of ants, or a glimmering spider's web in the dark, reminding us that the human mind is always connected to something larger than itself. When people close their eyes, when consciousness retreats like dimmed lights, another world begins to speak. It is not the world of reason, concepts, or arguments, but the world of primordial images, where insects appear with remarkable frequency. In dreams, ancient myths and stories passed from generation to generation, insects are never merely small creatures. They carry meanings far beyond their physical form, as though they are the language the unconscious chooses to speak about itself. According to Jung, humans possess not only a personal unconscious, shaped by individual memory and experience, but also a deeper shared layer, the collective unconscious. Within it, live archetypes, images that are not learned or taught, yet recur persistently across cultures. Insects, ancient and ubiquitous, seem to have become familiar characters in this alphabet of the unconscious. Butterflies appear in dreams during times of transformation, when an old phase ends, when an old ego dissolves to make space for something softer, more fragile, yet freer. It is no accident that butterflies are linked across cultures to the soul rebirth and the journey through the darkness of the cocoon. This is not just biology, it is the image the collective psyche uses to speak about change, slow, time-bound, and impossible to force. Ants, in contrast, emerge as symbols of order, tireless labor, and the ego dissolving into the collective. In the unconscious, an ant colony evokes both safety and suffocation. Safety because everything has its place and function. Suffocation because individuality disappears. Jung emphasized that every symbol has two sides, and ants are no exception. They remind us of the need to belong, while warning of the danger of losing the self by dissolving too completely. Spiders, with their intricate webs, often rise from the unconscious as symbols of fate and invisible connection. Each thread is fragile, yet together they form a structure of remarkable holding power. In dreams, the spider is not only fearsome, it also reminds us that every action and thought creates vibrations that spread through networks beyond conscious control. What is special is that these symbols do not need to be understood logically to have effect. They work in silence like insects themselves. They reach layers where ordinary language cannot go, where feeling takes precedence over concept. And for this reason, when people are tired, when reason has worked too hard all day, the unconscious often chooses simple ancient images like insects to speak gently without overstimulating the nervous system. In the context of preparing for sleep, thinking of insects as messengers of the collective unconscious brings a strange yet soothing comfort. You do not need to decode dreams or analyze symbols. It is enough to know that somewhere beneath awareness, the human mind is using very old images to rebalance itself, to remind you that you are not alone in your experience. Fear, transformation, the feeling of being caught in cycles, these have all appeared before in the dreams of people who lived thousands of years ago. And perhaps here, insects fulfill their deepest psychological role. They become bridges. Bridges between the individual and the collective, between the present moment and the distant past, between a weary consciousness and an unconscious quietly at work. In their smallness is an ancient whisper. Allow yourself to belong to a larger flow where every transformation has already happened before and therefore has a place. Part 12. Insects and the Rhythm of Night. As the last light of day fades from the sky, as cities lower their voices and people slowly retreat into private rooms, another world begins to awaken. It is not a world of grand images or loud sounds, but the world of insects, beings that learned how to live, work, and communicate in darkness long before humans learned to name the night. For insects, night is not emptiness. It is a complete rhythm of life. Many species become active only when light weakens. Crickets begin their steady songs. Nocturnal cicadas vibrate their wings like biological metronomes. Moths fly in trajectories the human eye cannot follow. The flickering light of fireflies is not merely beauty, it is language. A language written in chemistry, timing, and rhythm, precise to the point of near perfection. In darkness, insects do not lose direction. Instead, they become clearer to themselves. Carl Jung emphasized that night is not only a physical state, but also a psychological space, where consciousness loosens and the unconscious begins to speak. If daytime belongs to order, control, and goals, nighttime belongs to symbols, sensations, and processes that need no supervision. Insects, in their nocturnal rhythm, become living embodiments of this collective unconscious, acting without thought, without personal plans, yet maintaining flawless order. The nighttime sounds of insects are special because they do not demand attention. Cricket songs do not require listening, but if you hear them, they can slow your breathing. The faint vibration of insect wings in the night carries no clear message, yet it creates the sense that life continues steadily. This affects the human nervous system directly. The brain recognizes that the world is still okay, even when we no longer control it with sight. In darkness, insects rely on channels of communication that fade during daylight vibrations, through soil, subtle shifts in temperature, fleeting scents in the air. This is a world where vision no longer dominates, much like the human mind just before sleep. When the eyes close, other senses sharpen. We begin to listen with the whole body and to feel without interpretation. Jung once wrote, "One does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious." Night in this sense, is not something to avoid, but something to enter gently. Insects have done this for millions of years. They do not fight darkness or attempt to illuminate it. They live in harmony with it. Their nocturnal rhythm is not frantic or panicked, but steady and slow enough to keep ecosystems balanced. When people lie down and prepare for sleep, the insect world does not disappear. On the contrary, it takes over the shift. Beneath leaves, within grass, in cooling air, small movements continue quiet yet precise. And this continuity sends a deep message to a tired mind: you may rest. Not everything must stop for you to sleep. Life has long known how to operate in silence. So, when you hear about insects at night, let the story pass not only through thought, but into breath. Let imagined cricket sounds, firefly light, and invisible movements become the background music of sleep. In the world of insects, night is not an ending. It is simply another rhythm of life. And as you drift into sleep, you are joining that rhythm naturally and safely. As darkness settles and the noisy activities of humans fade, another world awakens. It is not the world of lights, screens, or voices, but the world of small, steady, silent movements. The world of insects at night. For them, night is not absence, but the fullest moment to live according to their biological rhythm. Many insects are active only when humans sleep. As temperatures drop, light softens and air stabilizes, they emerge from hiding. Beneath decaying leaves, in grass, along tree trunks, over still water, movements begin. Unhurried, unshowy. Each wing beat, each crawl, each vibration blends into the night's quiet background music. Night sounds, cricket calls, late cicadas, wing vibrations are not meant to draw attention, but to maintain rhythm. These sounds repeat steadily, nearly unchanged, creating a safety field for the nervous system. Even without conscious awareness, the human brain perceives this stability. Consistent rhythms signal that the environment is calm without immediate threat, and when safety is felt, the body allows itself to relax. Nighttime light from insects carries a different quality. Firefly glow is not harsh, continuous, or intrusive. It appears and disappears like breath. In darkness, these small flashes resemble ancient signals, reminding us that life is present without needing control or intervention. From a Jungian perspective, dim light in darkness is always tied to the unconscious. Not the light of clear awareness, but guiding light enough to avoid fear. Night is also the time of vibration. Many insects communicate through subtle oscillations, transmitted through ground trees and cool air. These vibrations do not reach the ears, they reach the body. Humans lying still at night also become more sensitive to such subtle signals. The feel of blankets, steady breathing, slowing heartbeat. The body synchronizes with the Earth's ancient biological rhythm, where night is not for doing but for restoration. Jung saw night as the realm of the unconscious, where the ego loosens control and deeper layers speak. The nocturnal insect world mirrors this state. There is no central authority, no dominating light, only countless small movements, each meaningful within the whole. It is an order without command, much like the unconscious working within the sleeping human mind. When you lie down and close your eyes, the insect world does not vanish. It continues its shift, pollinating, decomposing, hunting, reproducing, keeping ecosystems running smoothly. You do not need to watch or understand everything. It is enough to know that even as you rest, life is doing its work. This sense of being held by something larger and more stable is the deep foundation of restful sleep. And as insect sounds blend into silence, as night grows thicker and softer, your mind can allow itself to drift. No more thinking, no more effort. The rhythm of night has existed far longer than you, and you are simply returning to it. Part 13. The Time of Insects and the Time of Dreams. Under the slow gaze of night, the time of insects and the time of dreams begin to touch one another like two underground streams. Cicadas sleep beneath the soil for decades. Butterflies pass through multiple forms to complete a single cycle of transformation. Ant colonies continue their work across countless generations. All of this reveals a gentle truth. Time is not only a straight line measured by clock hands, but a rhythm. When human beings enter sleep, the brain also leaves daytime linearity and moves into deep cycles, especially REM, where memories, emotions, and images are rewoven in ways that do not follow ordinary order. There the past may appear as the present. The future may whisper through symbols, and the sense of long and short becomes blurred, much like the way insects live outside our measures. In dreams, the mind is no longer pressed to explain. It observes, connects, transforms, like an ant colony finding its way without command, like a cicada waiting for the right season to sing, like a butterfly emerging only when conditions are ripe. At this depth, time is cyclical, not a command. Each REM cycle is a night shift of the unconscious, where fragments of the day are rearranged. Emotional intensity is softened, and new meaning begins to germinate. This is not so different from the nocturnal life of insects, quiet, precise, and enduring. Jung's perspective helps us understand why dreams speak in images and rhythms, rather than arguments. The unconscious does not hurry, it waits. It knows that healing does not require acceleration, only the right timing. Like insects, the mind has its own biological calendar. When allowed to rest, it finds balance on its own. Dream symbols, tunnels, wings, nests, nocturnal light are not prophecies, but rhythmic signals. Trust the process unfolding, even when you cannot yet see the results. And so before sleep, you do not need to force yourself to understand the dreams that may come. Let time work in its own way. Remember that in this quiet darkness, both the insects outside and the unconscious within you are awake, not to wake you but to keep the world running. As you relax, that ancient rhythm will carry you through the night gently like a lullaby without words. The time of insects has never resembled the clock hanging on a human wall. It is not divided into hours, minutes, days, or years. It flows according to biological rhythm, according to moonlight, soil temperature, air, humidity, and signals that human eyes cannot see and human ears cannot hear. A cicada may sleep beneath the earth for 13 years, 17 years, in complete darkness, without haste, without doubt, without needing to know how the world above has changed. When conditions are ready, it emerges, sheds its skin, and sings for only a few short weeks, as if the entire long stretch before had been a single preparatory breath. For insects, time is not a sequence of events, but waiting for the right moment. Human dreams operate by a similar logic. When you sleep, time is no longer linear. A dream lasting a few minutes may contain memories of many years. A fleeting image may carry the emotional weight of an entire lifetime. In REM sleep, the brain no longer follows social clocks, but returns to a more ancient time, the time of images, symbols, rhythm, and sensation. Carl Jung saw dreams as a parallel life, where the unconscious continues to live, think, and arrange the world in its own way. And if we look closely, the nocturnal life of insects is much the same when daytime belongs to humans. Light control and planning. Night belongs to small beings, silent, precise, and patient. At night, insects work without needing to be seen. They fly, crawl, vibrate, glow, communicate, survive not because anyone watches, not because anyone records. Your dreams are the same. They do not need daytime logic explanations or clear goals. They only need space to happen. The time of insects teaches us something very gentle. Not everything needs to happen quickly. Not all life needs to be efficient. A long cycle, a deep sleep, a silent waiting, sometimes these are the most natural ways to exist. And as you lie there, eyes closed, consciousness slowly receding, you are entering that same stream of time, the time of dreams. A time not measured by seconds, but by the depth of letting go. A time where small creatures and the human mind meet in silence, in darkness, in wordless continuation. There is nothing that needs to be completed there. Only life continuing in its own way. Part 14. When humans disappear from the story. If one day humans were no longer present, the world would not fall into absolute silence. Forests would still whisper, the earth would still shift, and insects, small, ancient, enduring beings, would continue their work as they did hundreds of millions of years before humans existed. They would need no witnesses, no records, no named meaning. Life at its deepest level does not require observation to continue. This perspective softens something deeply human, the feeling of being the center. Jung reminded us that the ego is only a small part floating atop a vast ocean of the unconscious. When we place ourselves outside the story, not through denial but through gentle retreat, the mind begins to breathe more slowly. The burden of having to do, having to understand, having to control loosens. What remains is the quiet presence of a world that continues to operate. Insects remind us that Earth belonged to them long before humans appeared, and perhaps across a very long cycle of time it may be so again. This does not make humans small in a negative sense. It places us correctly as a part of the flow, not its owner. When the ego no longer strains to hold the central role, the nervous system relaxes. Before sleep, the human mind is often exhausted from carrying too many personal stories. But if we allow ourselves to dissolve gently into a larger context where insects still fly, crawl, vibrate, glow, and communicate in the night, individual worries lose their sharp edges. Sleep arrives not as escape, but as return. And in that moment, when humans briefly disappear from the story of themselves, only the breathing of Earth remains steady, patient, needing no one to direct it, and the mind can safely let go, drifting into deep and natural sleep. When humans disappear from the story not through catastrophe but through gentle imagination, the world does not become empty. On the contrary, it becomes seamless. Grass continues to grow, soil continues to breathe, water continues to flow, and insects, the most ancient inhabitants, continue their work as if uninterrupted. No streetlights, no machines, no hurried rhythm of human consciousness. Only slow, precise cycles that need no witness. Insects lived on Earth before humans, even before forests took the form we know. They survived mass extinctions, ice ages, shifting continents. And it is likely that if humans were gone, insects would remain not as victors, but as those who never left. This idea is not meant to diminish humanity, but to ease the burden of self-centralization. Jung said that the ego is only a small island floating on the vast ocean of the unconscious. When humans place themselves at the center of the universe's story, the ego becomes tense, defensive, and unable to rest. But when we allow ourselves to step away from that center, even in imagination, the mind begins to slow its breath. Imagining a world that continues peacefully without us brings a strange but profound feeling safety without control. Insects become the perfect symbol of this. They do not need recognition. They do not need remembrance. They do not need an audience. They build, recycle, pollinate, decompose all in silence. And that silence is the deepest lullaby for a mind tired of having to show up, play a role, and prove itself. When we imagine humans disappearing from the story, we do not disappear from life. We simply step off the stage of consciousness for a while. Like sleep, the ego does not die. It retreats. Deeper systems take over: breath, heartbeat, memory, dreams. Just as when humans sleep, insects begin their night shift without noise, without lights, without plans, only continuation. At a deeper level, Part 14 invites the listener into a very gentle psychological act, setting oneself down, not surrender, but trust. Trust that life does not require constant intervention from consciousness. Trust that if we rest, the world does not collapse. Trust that, like insects, there are forces far more enduring than the ego. And as that thought settles, something subtle happens. The role of controller in the mind fades. Inner space widens. Thought slows. Sleep is no longer something to achieve, but something permitted. In that moment, the human is no longer the main character, no longer the narrator, no longer the center. Just a small being supported by a vast living network that has existed for a very long time and will continue for a very long time yet. And in that feeling of being supported, the ego softens consciousness, dims, and sleep arrives as something entirely natural. Part 15. Insects as a lesson in letting go of control. When we look long enough at the world of insects, we begin to recognize a gentle yet profound truth. Life does not need to be controlled in order to function fully. These small beings do not make long-term plans in the human sense, do not carry personal ambition, do not question whether they are on the right path. They simply do what needs to be done at the right moment, with complete trust in a larger rhythm that supports everything. And it is precisely here that the lesson of letting go of control appears quietly without instruction or doctrine. From Carl Jung's perspective, the human ego often becomes tense because it wants to command everything, to understand everything, predict everything, control everything. But the unconscious, like nature itself, does not operate according to the ego's orders. It moves through symbols, rhythms, and laws deeper than personal will. In this sense, insects resemble messengers of the collective unconscious. They remind us that life has been unfolding for hundreds of millions of years before humans learned to name things, and it will continue to unfold, whether we are awake or asleep. Think of an ant colony working through the night. No one gives orders, no one supervises, no one checks progress. Each individual responds only to the nearest signals to send to vibration to the presence of another. From these simple responses, a complex order emerges. Jung emphasized that the deepest order does not come from surface-level control, but from harmony with invisible forces beneath. Just as sleep arrives when we stop trying to sleep, peace arrives when we stop forcing ourselves to be okay. In the insect world, there is no resistance to night. Night is not an enemy to be conquered with artificial light. Night is a workspace, a living environment, a natural breath. When humans lie down, that rhythm does not stop. It simply shifts to another layer, softer, slower, yet enduring. In recognizing this, the ego can soften. We no longer need to stand guard over everything. We no longer need to hold the world together with exhausted wakefulness. Letting go of control in the Jungian sense is not neglect or avoidance. It is mature trust. Trust that there are quiet systems at work in service of life both outside us and within us. Just as insects build the world in silence, your nervous system knows how to restore itself when allowed to rest. Emotions know how to settle when they are not forced to be resolved immediately. Sleep knows how to arrive when space is made for it. And so before moving into the final lullaby-like closing, allow yourself to learn from these small beings. You do not need to understand everything. You do not need to see everything. The earth's breathing remains steady. Life continues. You may set down the burden of control just for tonight. It is enough. Let the rest be done by nature and by sleep. Under the slow, gentle rhythm of this section, insects are no longer objects to be observed or analyzed, but become a tender metaphor for the art of letting go. They live without knowing the whole picture, without needing to grasp the greater meaning of existence. An ant does not know how vast the forest is. A butterfly does not need to understand the entire life cycle of its species. A cricket singing in the night does not care who is listening. And yet that life, small, uncalculated, operates with astonishing precision. Seen through the lens of Carl Gustav Jung, a deeper lesson becomes clear. The human ego grows weary from trying to control too many layers of life, while the unconscious, like the insect world, functions best when it is trusted. Jung stressed that healing does not come from consciousness mastering everything, but from allowing deeper systems to self-regulate. Insects have no long-term plans, but they have rhythm, no complete map, but harmony. At night, as humans slowly put down their phones, release their thoughts, and loosen their unanswered questions, the insect world continues its work, digging, flying, vibrating, glowing, communicating through scent and rhythm. No one commands, no one supervises, no one needs to make sure everything is okay, and the earth continues to breathe evenly. This part invites the listener to do something very simple before sleep, to become a little like insects, not in action, but in inner attitude. You do not need to understand all your emotions. You do not need to resolve every problem. You do not need to see the entire road ahead. Life is still moving within you, just as it is moving beneath the soil, in the leaves, and through the night air. As you lie still, imagine yourself as a very small point within the planet's great breath. And like insects, you are allowed to rest, not because everything is perfect, but because life does not require your control in order to continue. As the night grows quieter and the sounds of the outer world thin, we can gently return to the whole journey we have just taken. Not to remember it, but to let it go. We have looked at the world through very different eyes. The eyes of insects, being small yet older than human memory. A world that functions quietly, without explanation, without attention, without needing to prove its worth. When humans sleep, insects continue to live. When the city grows silent beneath the soil, in the leaves, in the cool night air, small movements continue. No noise, no urgency, no tension about tomorrow. Through the lens of Carl Gustav Jung, we can sense that these images are not only biological, they touch the collective unconscious, where the human mind stores its most ancient symbols of life. Insects remind us that life does not need to be large to be enduring. It does not need control to function. It does not need full understanding to continue, just like sleep. You do not need to do anything in order to sleep. You only need to allow. Allow the body to soften. Allow the mind to drift. Allow unfinished thoughts to settle like leaves falling in the night. Uncounted, uncollected. If there is anything from the day that still feels heavy, imagine placing it gently onto the ground where small beings have cared for this planet for hundreds of millions of years. They know how to continue even when no one is watching. You do not need to stay alert any longer. You do not need to understand anything more. You do not need to hold any role. Just lie. Still, let the breath slow. Let the eyelids grow heavy, and let sleep arrive as something entirely natural, just as night arrives, whether we wait for it or not. Thank you for being here, for listening, for giving yourself this quiet space. May you have a deep, gentle sleep. Sleep well.